And I think we're live. Welcome, welcome. Hello, ladies. And my name is Taylor Thompson, and we're here with the Monday Mom's Mindset. Can you believe it is actually the middle of March? I can't even, I feel like I just took my Christmas tree down. It's so crazy. So we're here. Let us know that you're coming in. Let us know where you're coming in if this is your first time on. This is where we do live interviews. We share with this community. We share stories. We share value. And I've got my beautiful friend here, Miss Natalie Tuman. I'm going to introduce her in just a minute, but as you're coming in, there is a link right above the where it says StreamYard, and just tap that link and give StreamYard authorization to use your name, because on this platform, all I see is Facebook user, so I can't even say your name, like who it is. So I see ladies coming in, and we want to welcome you. We've got a really, really, really phenomenal story here to share today. So I'm super excited. So Natalie, my dear friend, so this is an interesting story. Natalie actually lives in my little community here. And gosh, we met, I want to say it was like probably close to 10 years ago. I'm thinking she was, now some of you who don't know, I'm going to give you a little background about me. My background, I was an aerobic instructor. I used to teach aerobics. I was a personal trainer, and yeah, well, that was in the former life. And so I started working out at a little gym here in our community, and Natalie was always the one, she was always the class that I wanted to go to, because she went in there and she kicked my butt every single time. Like, I loved it because she would be like, I mean, she was like me, like in another life. Like, and so, I mean, I loved that because I would go to her class. I wanted to be in her class as much as I possibly could, because she was a beast, is a beast, not was, is a beast without question. So I am so excited to have you here today, Miss Natalie. Just beautiful, as beautiful on the outside as she is on the inside, and to share your story and share your journey, because it's been quite a journey over the last couple of years here. So let's talk. How are you?
I'm good. Hanging in there with children home, husband home, you know, all that's going on in the world right now. Everything aside, doing good.
Yeah, because like all the little ones running around, schools being closed, all the mamas are like, now what the heck am I going to do? Right? This truly is a Monday Mom's Mindset. Like, how do I do my business? How do I do my life whenever I'm used to pawning them off at school? Right?
100%. Yes. I'm paying my oldest $5 right now to keep the youngest upstairs, and telling my son to stay on Fortnite until I'm done.
Okay. So a lot of you moms can probably relate to this very thing. And I told her it's totally okay if they come in, or if they're fussing and fighting or feuding, because this is real life. This is what moms do, right? We had a little glitch. 100%. And we also have like, it's cloudy and rainy, and Wi-Fi is really sucking life right now. So let's tell your story. Let's talk about this. So because you know, there's a lot of story that happened before we actually connected. So tell us about, you know, how you're raised, and what got you to become a, you know, amazing fitness guru. And
well, I wasn't, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love being able to speak and share my passion and uplift others, especially women and moms. So I'm very, very blessed to get to do this. I was raised in a very, very small town, like 1,000 people. I'm talking like small town, like that might be where we escape to if we get quarantined. But, you know, very small town in the panhandle of Oklahoma. And I was an athlete in high school, and I loved it. You know, I found basketball when I was probably in the 5th or 6th grade, and just fell in love. And from then it was just, I just, the whole athlete side of it and lifting weights, like I loved being in the weight room, and I loved running sprints. And so it just, I had no idea that's where I would be. Like, I actually wanted to go into the medical field. But I went to Texas A&M University. I graduated from high school in that itty bitty town, and went all the way down to Texas A&M.
Wow.
And I got my degree in speech communications, which who knew that would end up being, I mean, it's just, y'all have to understand, like, the Lord knows exactly what he's doing. So don't ever question that, but that's where I ended up. And so I got married. I actually ended up marrying my high
school. I see you're representing with true Aggie colors.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Get them, right?
That's why I did it. It was, yes. But I actually ended up marrying my high school sweetheart. So we met when I was 15, and we dated off and on, kind of took a 6-year hiatus when I was away, but got married to my high school sweetheart. We have 3 kids. After the birth of my first, I was in pharmaceutical sales at the time, and I was on maternity leave, and I used to love Pilates in college. My college roommate and I, we used to do the Windsor Pilates DVDs, that and Tybo. Do y'all remember him?
Yes, yeah. Billy Banks.
Yes, we would do Tybo and Pilates like all the time in our house. So I fell in love with Pilates. And so when I was on maternity leave, I ended up getting my certification to teach Pilates. And that's what and I don't even know what made me do it. I just thought, well, now's the time, I might as well do this. And it just snowballed. I started teaching Pilates upstairs in my game room here. Then when the gym opened locally, I started with them as soon as they opened and started teaching Pilates, got my personal training cert, and it just kept snowballing. I got involved into a network marketing company, and I just started feeling this pull, from that moment. And so my company went through voluntary layoffs. And I remember being like, pick me. Because I went through, I'd had my first kid. I started finding this newfound passion that I just was being drawn to. So I was just no longer in that, my mindset was not right when I was in that. And so we started figuring out, and I got the severance package. And so I got laid off. I was home for like 6 months. I started my own boot camp, was training clients around the clock, doing all the things to try to build my business. And then an opportunity came up for me to go work for a hospital organization for just a couple days. They wanted me full time. And I was like, I'm not doing it, Yeah. So they created a position for me, and I started working for Texas Health Resources 2 to 3 days a week. And then I got pregnant with my second. So after I had that second baby, it was like, you know what? I had realized, I sat down, my husband and I talked, and it was like, okay, if I can stay on this trajectory with my network marketing business and can pay the mortgage with, continue paying the mortgage with this, I think there's a possibility. And that's what we did. I hustled, met my goals, and was able to leave my corporate job and just focus primarily on the fitness world. So
let's talk about this for just a minute, because we have a lot of ladies and a lot of moms here probably listening, will be listening to this, and in the network marketing space, and maybe getting started, maybe kind of looking at like, how do I go about doing that? And so I love what you're sharing here, because as is all moms, whenever we have the first one or even the second one, how perspectives change, how goals, priorities, everything changes, I think, and so naturally for us. Yeah. But yet, maybe there's the lifestyle or the contribution. How do I still contribute, especially if you're maybe an entrepreneur, or you really have that kind of personality that you need to have fulfilled outside of the workspace, or like that wherewithal within.
Yes.
And having those conversations. So talk about that conversation, because I think this is sometimes what women miss out on, that they don't involve their spouse early on. Okay, give me this time, or that they're in this together. They may start the business and may not be jointly united. Maybe share this, give them some pointers in this direction.
Well, he has always been so supportive of what I've done, always, from day one. He's never doubted, so that was huge. However, health and fitness isn't his thing. I was in it was all health and fitness. That just isn't it's not his thing. He would go on like the paid for trips with me, but he didn't want to go to the meetings and stuff. And so I really had to respect that. Mm-hmm. He was respecting me and, encouraging me to go for my goals. But at the same point, he was like, that's not my thing. So I think I had to set that expectation for myself, because at the beginning, of course, you hear of these, Taylor and Larry's, these power couples, and that's what you want. And it's like, that's not necessarily what everybody is meant to do or the way it's supposed to be. And so that was the first thing. And, at one point I was really pushing to, I wanted to replace his income. I was doing, making a 6-figure income and was doing great, but I wanted to also replace his. And so I was constantly feeling like a failure because I wasn't able to reach that goal. I remember every Thursday opening up, what I had made, and it was like, I wasn't ever reaching it. And he was finally like, that's not my goal. That's your goal. He's like, I've never put that on you. That's not me. That's you. And so that was a really good wake up call to have for myself,
This is such a great point here because because I know that you had, when you talk about 6 figures, like especially stay-at-home moms to be making 6 figures and then you're beating yourself up. Like, seriously? Like, wow.
It was never enough.
That can speak to a lot of moms just because, just to have a supportive spouse, first of all, to support you in what you want to do, even if that's not their goal, just to engage in that conversation, just support me while I do what I can do. And this is what I want to do, whether it's to, like you said, make the house payment, make the car payment. Maybe it's just to buy diapers and formula.
Exactly. Maybe go to the movie, take your kids to the movies, without having to feel guilty or, whatever that might be. Yeah.
But so this is such a great identifier because knowing how you match up with your spouse and their goals versus your goals.
Yes.
There's a lot of rabbit trails I could go down on this one, but so thanks for sharing that because I hope it gives some ladies some ideas about what that, kind of what that looks like. And it doesn't look the same as it is for everybody. It's not a cookie cutter deal.
It's not. But, and also I don't think that I even knew to have those conversations though. I wish I kind of would have been guided in the beginning to have that conversation with my spouse so that we were on the same page,
Yeah.
I think that that's important to have that open communication, whatever that looks like for you and your relationships.
So once you got that information that you realized, okay, so I don't have to retire my husband, and you take that pressure off yourself. So then what happens next? So now you've got this, you're in network marketing, you're in fitness, health and fitness, you're teaching, kicking everybody's butt, i.e. me. So what happened next?
Well, in 2017, I got pregnant again, and it was a big surprise. Things were going great. I had kind of taken that off my mind. Like I wasn't going, that was no longer our goal. We had bought some property. We were going to build a house on. Things were just really good. Like marriage was in a great spot. Just business was booming. Life was really good. And I got pregnant by surprise. And so, this was like a 5-6 year gap between my, at the time, youngest and the new one. And so it was a shock. And I was just remember being like, the emotions were all over the place, and I felt guilty about it. I felt really guilty because I have friends that were, have struggled so much to get pregnant. So, which by the way, that baby has turned out to be the biggest source of joy and blessing in our lives. And so again, there's a reason behind everything. So that happened. And so
I can so relate to this. Because I remember getting pregnant with my third, and I remember these exact feelings and going through these exact emotions. And I didn't have the gap that you had, but the feelings were the same. The guilt, how does this work? Because it wasn't planned. It wasn't all these things. And to your point, she's been the biggest blessing ever, right? But there's a lot of guilt with you as a mom for even thinking what's wrong with me, right?
Yes.
That you would feel that way.
I was there at one point from the first day. So how I found out I was pregnant with her, I was going to get an IUD and was then meeting one of my best friends for mimosas and go watch Bad Moms right after. So I go in to get my IUD real fast at like 8:30 in the morning on my way to brunch. And she's like, we can't do this. It's like, there's no way, you're lying. She's like, mm-mm. And so from that moment, she was like, God knows what he's doing. I was bawling in the room. I was like, this is not happening. So fast forward, we had a scare, and I was really afraid that we had lost the baby, and that she was like, God wants you to realize you need this baby for some reason in your life. Like she was telling me that clear back then, you
Wow.
know. So
Wow.
there was some foreshadowing there for sure about
Yeah.
why we would need her. Yeah.
Well, and I think there's a lot of moms that can relate with those feelings, and this doesn't make you a bad mom. I think it makes us human.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just
I
makes
didn't
us
even
human.
have mimosas that day. She was like, go see the movie, but do not drink. I was like, dang it.
Wow. Wow.
So,
So that was in 2017.
yes, 2017. And then, towards the end of, that was in March of 2017 is when I had her. And so I guess it was 2016 when we found out. But towards the end of the year, I started really struggling. I was hustling. I was working harder than I had ever worked in my business. And things were kind of flattening out. The people on my team were not seeing the success that I had. And it was so hard. That is one of the hardest things as a leader. And I loved leading my team. And I still to this day adore the people on my team. I mean, it was a connection and a community like I never even knew was possible to have. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but it was just such a blessing in my life. But I was the only one having that kind of success. And that was such a hard pill to swallow that I could not figure out how to get these other women to their success. So towards the end of 2017, I started feeling this need to kind of pull back a bit. And so in January, I told my team, I was like, I'm still working the business, but I don't know what this is going to look like right now. I have to take a step back from leading because I feel like I'm failing you. I was still there. I was still present, but I just let them know. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I just feel this and I just have to be honest with you. And so I was, and that was in January of 2017. No, I'm sorry, 2018. So about 6 months later, come to find out, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. It was June of 2018. June 27th, 2018 was my official diagnosis date. And so going back to the business part of it, it was like, that's why God was kind of pulling me back and stirring all of this in me, because if I would have been going at the same pace when I got diagnosed, I would not have been able to just step away. Like I would have felt so much guilt. And so I wouldn't have been able to take care of me and my family the way that I had to or still have to do to this day. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise that I was feeling that and I was needing to kind of step back. It kind of all came to fruition when that happened.
Well, so let's talk about that. Okay, so here you are, like now mom, brand new mom, even little one, with this diagnosis. Like, let's talk about that moment. Like,
So,
here you are, because picture of health, total shape, like works out all the time, eats right.
My life probably.
I mean, so taking care of your body, taking care of your health, eating right, nutrition, supplements, all of those things. What does that look like? And what does that feel like? Do you mind?
A slap in the face, like it felt like a slap in the face. I mean, I wasn't as angry. I had friends that were just like livid, like how does this happen? This makes my husband, he chews tobacco, did. Since high school. And he was like, that's not supposed to happen to you. Like I go to all of my checkups, like my womanly exam, like everything. I am so just on schedule with everything I do health-wise. He's like, I never go to the doctor. I've chewed tobacco since, I was a teenager. This isn't supposed to happen to you. So it was really hard, but, and the only way I found it, so I had stopped nursing in March. I nursed all of my kids for a year. So that's supposed to help prevent breast cancer, right? Breastfeeding is supposed to be to help against the risk. But I breastfed her for a year. And then, so I kept thinking, when I first felt my lump, I felt it in the shower. And so I just thought that it was something from breastfeeding is all I thought that it was. So, Taylor's gone. I wonder, can y'all still hear me or see me? I wonder. Is anyone there? I don't want to keep talking if no one's there. It's just the timer clicking, but if you're not there, I won't keep talking. So if someone's there, if you would tell me, that would be awesome. I'll wait for Taylor, see if she pops back in. Oh yeah, she still see me. Okay, cool. Then I'll keep going, and then she can hop in when her connection's better. So anyway, I have a friend, and she had told me I used to wash with a loofah, the little, you know, what I'm talking about. Like mine was purple, and so I used to wash with a loofah. And my friend was like, "That is so disgusting. Like they're so gross. They contain so much bacteria. You have got to quit washing with that thing." And then my son and I saw it on Dr. Oz. So that night I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm getting rid of it. So I washed with my hands for the first time ever. And I was very, very, very flat chested. And I felt a lump. And I was like, I don't remember that being there. So I truly thought that it was from like something from breastfeeding. So the next day, my good friend, was actually my primary care provider. She's a nurse practitioner. She felt it at our 5 a.m. workout. I was like, is this normal? She's like, mm-mm. So that was at 5 a.m. By 8:30, I had an appointment down in Dallas, in downtown, to get a diagnostic mammogram and ultrasound. And so that was on a Friday morning. And Monday, they did a biopsy. And as I'm lying there, I asked the radiologist, I was like, look, I know you do this all the time. And I know you probably can't say anything legally. And I respect that and I understand it. However, do you think that this might be cancer? And she said, yes, I do. Like, okay, thank you. And so it was like a wave of peace came over me, just at least having that, you know, and knowing what she said. I think I felt more peace her telling me that than I would have without. So anyway, that was in 2018. June 27th was the Wednesday. So on Monday I had my biopsy, and on Wednesday I got the call that it was invasive ductal carcinoma, IDC. And it was, at the time they thought I was stage 2. When they did surgery, it turns out I was stage 3 grade C. So just below stage 4 breast cancer. So when it had gone, there she is.
Thank you for keeping talking. I'm like,
oh, I don't know if they can see me. And then someone was like, yes, I still see you. I'm here. I'm like, okay, then I'll just keep going. So
okay, I'm so sorry. My internet. Anyway, I can't even talk about technology right now. So catch me up.
Diagnosed on Friday. I had my scans. Monday biopsy. Wednesday, you have cancer. Was told at that point that they thought it was stage 2. I had 2 lumps. One they didn't think was, but it was in my lymph nodes. They knew that for sure. And they also saw something in my internal mammary gland underneath. It's kind of underneath your chest bone, like underneath your thoracic. And so I was originally diagnosed with stage 2, but after surgery, which was months and months later, it was determined that it was stage 3 grade C.
So the process, I'm thinking, women are going to be watching, obviously, and watching this, and you would have, as a woman, that's probably like
it was a hit, first of all, having to tell your kids, that was one of the hardest. Well, and first keeping it from them until we knew for a fact. So, my husband, we would sit there and cry together, when they would go to bed, and so trying to keep it all together until you actually know for sure. And then, to be honest with you, it was all kind of a whirlwind. We are so blessed by the support system that we have. It just goes beyond words. I had no idea. And they rallied around us like no other. Like, it became a party until from June 27th until July 12th. It was a party on our street every single day almost. We were gearing up to fight this. We were in it. It wasn't a me thing. It was a we thing.
So I remember reaching out to you.
I do too. I remember talking to you on the phone. Yes.
Whenever because I saw what was going on, and I remember calling you and having this conversation with you, and watching this all unfold. And for me, I mean, I hope you felt my presence as your friend, because what I saw from the outside, I don't know, and I'll say from the outside as a friend, that's rallying, through your social media and through your platform, that I watched, the people in this community, in your tribe, um, so rally with you and walk with you and hold your hand
Mhm.
in and through this process. I can, I mean, first of all, that to have that kind of support with other women, and having a tribe and having a community, that had to have meant the world to you.
Oh, yes, because yes. I mean, you can't put it into words, especially, you talk about struggles in life, that I went through struggles in my life with friends and friendships and things. And so to feel that love was just like, I had no idea. I had no idea. It was incredible. It really, really was.
Well, so in July, what happened in July? So, this is June, so you're talking about July. So what transpired in July?
Well, we found out that what our treatment plan was going to be, and I was going to go through 4 rounds. It was every other week of a drug called, they call it the Red Devil because it's that bad. So the plan was 4 of those, followed by 12 weekly of a different chemo. And then after that, I would have a double mastectomy. And then I would wait 6 weeks, I believe it was, and then start radiation. And then after radiation, you have to wait 3 to 6 months and do what's called an exchange surgery, which is where they take these expanders out and put implants in if that's the route that you choose to go. So that was the plan in July. So I started chemo. I did my first 4. And I remember after my very first one, you're supposed to go, they take you in to do your blood work when you're chemo naive, what they call it. I'd never had chemo before, so they bring you in to do your lab work to make sure that your numbers are high enough for you to be in public, right? I was basically in practice for what's going on right now, is what it turns out to be. But so they do your blood work to make sure where it is, and mine, I guess, had tanked, and I felt okay. I mean, the weekend was rough. That first weekend, I had chemo on a Thursday. The weekend was rough, but by 7 days later, I was back in the gym, and I got my labs, and they came back, and my numbers had tanked, and they said, do not go in public, do not, wear a mask if you have to go anywhere, but stay home. So that was just the beginning.
Well, and let's talk about that for people that may not understand why. So what do you mean?
So the way it was explained to me, you have 2 things. One is your white blood cell count, and the other one is called your ANC, which is your absolute neutrophil, and it's a percentage, and I have no idea how it's calculated, but it's a percentage. And so they explained to me that your white blood count is like your army, right, to fight infection. Your ANC is like Fort Knox, that's keeping anything in from even getting close to the army. So if that ANC is down, you're basically screwed because your army can't fight the way it's meant to fight. So that was what they really keep a close eye on, is your ANC. And so mine was like super low. I can't even remember. Like, it was lower. I was always told by your 3rd round, your numbers will start going down and you'll probably have to stay home more. And mine was after my very first round. So if that gives you any indication about how my journey was not by the book, like, at all. I mean, even my oncologist, still to this day, when I go to my follow-ups, it's just, we're still baffled.
Okay, so let's talk about that. They're baffled from, because whenever you have to stay isolated, it's basically to keep you from getting sick, or because your body can't handle any kind of thing that it would normally be able to fight off, even a common cold. You're more.
That's what they told me. They were like, what would someone else would get a common cold? It'll put you in the hospital. I was like, okay, kind of. I mean, I did. I followed by the book, I was, but my husband didn't want me going to the gym. I was like, you don't understand. That's my release. That's my thing. I have to. So it was a battle, but that hit me hard, and I had to do 4 rounds of that. And like I said, I started in July, and so we finished our last round of that, I want to say September. Oh, it was the end of August. It was the end of August was my 4th round of the Red Devil. I mean, and it was just awful. I mean, I would get sick. I would be in bed for days. I would come straight home. By that last round, I would come home from chemo and I would just lay in bed, basically drugged for days just to get me through it because it was just so awful. I had lost my hair by this point. You were losing all sense of who I was. It was slowly but surely fading.
So how did you get through? I mean, because like as a woman losing your hair, knowing what's ahead, like how do you reconcile that? And then not being able to have the energy to be mom and do what you're used to doing. How do you reconcile that emotionally?
I journaled everything. And that was helpful. I prayed. I would lay in bed and just pray. I would be crying and just praying. And losing my hair, I remember the day we shaved it. It was day 17 after my first chemo. I had already I cut it like this basically right before I started, like after my very first chemo session. And then day 17, we did a buzz cut. My husband did it and my son did it with me. But my daughter, like she came inside, she couldn't really deal. She ended up coming back out, but it was harder on her, that part of it.
I remember because you guys did this on social media.
I shared the pictures. I did. Yeah. I shared the pictures. Yeah. I was very, the day my husband and I left the biopsy that Monday, I said, I really feel like I should share this because I feel like for 2 reasons. One, I think we're going to like the power of prayer. I mean, I need as many people praying for me as possible. And I had a large social media platform. So I was like, if I can get 60,000 people praying for me, that's a blessing, So
because you have to remember, like, you have not only the fitness following in your community, but then you have like your network marketing, exactly. Business and all of this following, and to make this decision to go public.
And my husband's very private. He's very private. So I didn't know,
But I mean, I'm on your page. I mean, I'm on your page as far as like being able to have other people rally around you and pray for you, pray with you, pray for you.
Yeah.
That, give you strength, in the process. So, but it was such a light. I mean, I have to tell you.
I figured that if I can do that and help just one person in the process, just one, then that would help me make sense of the mess.
Because, watching that unfold and watching your faith and watching, because you can't help, for me, I mean, I'm putting myself in your shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know that sounds really weird, but it's just like, I mean, that's how I prayed for you, like as if it were me whenever I would see your post. And it was a reminder to me to pray for you whenever those posts would come through. And so I don't know why. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm so emotional about it.
Well, because I think that it made it real. Like people were like, I can't believe this is happening to you. I'm a mom of 3 young kids. I'm just doing life,
Yeah.
Doing what we all do, right?
Yeah.
Just no different than anyone else. And so the fact that I think, and that I was in good health. So the fact I think that it hit me was just, yeah, I know. It still dumbfounds me to this day,
Yeah. So to get through this journey and so now to get to the next phase, right? So now take us through that piece.
Well, so I did those first 4 treatments and then I did my first one of the second kind of chemo that I was supposed to do. And I'll make it real short, but I got extremely sick. They had no idea what it was, if it was the chemo, if it was my youngest had come home with hand, foot, and mouth. They didn't know if it was from that. They didn't know, but I ended up in the hospital for a week. And I didn't know how bad it was, but it was bad. Like so bad that my husband was in the hallway, like, is this it?
Yeah.
He called me back from Oklahoma, like, you need to get down here. She's not getting better. Like he was calling in the troops. We thought this was literally, I didn't know that. I just knew I couldn't breathe. I mean, like literally I couldn't breathe. The only time I had any relief was they finally gave me an oxygen mask and it was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I ended up with pneumonitis is what it's called. So it's not pneumonia, but it's pneumonitis. So instead of your lungs being filled with fluid, they were just, I was basically suffocating because everything was so swollen. So it was just inflammation of the lungs and the bronchial tubes and all of that. So it was pretty bad. So everything changed after that because not only, I mean, we had to stop that chemo. So they had to, she's like, I don't want to take the chance of it, that have been it, because there was no way to know for 100%. That chemo actually has a high rate of an allergic reaction. So it very well could have been. So there was another chemo that they could put me on. So she's like, I want a 1 month break from chemo. I want you to get your surgery during this time. And then after that, we're going to switch to this other chemo that you'll do every 3 weeks. It's like, okay. Which I left the hospital and I remember the next day, so I was discharged on a Wednesday and on Thursday I was in getting another PET scan and then Friday I was back at the breast surgeon. And I mean, it was just like PTSD. I remember breaking down in the car, like just it all finally hit me, like realizing like, holy moly, what just happened? And then all this information coming at you because you think you have a plan, right? It's just like life. We think we have a plan, like it is spelled out and I've got goals. Like I'm just going to check the boxes and get to the end. And then everything's flipped upside down and it's nothing like what we had planned. Now I'm having to make all these decisions, single mastectomy, double mastectomy, stay flat, do implants. Like, I mean, just so many things being thrown at you, picking your breast surgeon, picking your plastic surgeon, all was coming when I thought I had like 9 more months before I had to make these choices. I had a matter of days. So
wow.
Actually ended up getting a second opinion on our breast surgeon and went in a completely different route than what we thought we were going to do. So I ended up getting a double mastectomy. That's when they upgraded me to stage 3, grade C. My body did not have a complete reaction, the chemo didn't kill what they thought that it would kill. So I still had active cancer in my body and in my lymph nodes. It had shrunk. The tumor in my left breast had shrunk, but there was still chemo brain. There was still traces of it in my thoracic. And then they had to take 14 lymph nodes from my left arm and 4 from my right. And then when they tested the tissue from the right breast, there was suspicion in that as well. So I had to take a break from chemo during that. I had my double mastectomy, which was the hardest surgery, I think, because that's your womanhood, you know, your body is changed from that moment on. So that was one of the hardest things that day. I remember, I mean, I was very emotional that day. That was hard.
I think every woman could definitely identify with, that in and of itself, because that's a lot, to your point, that's a lot coming at you and a lot for you to wrap your brain around that, because we do identify that part as looking at our bodies and the way we see ourselves. Especially moms, and especially if you've nursed your babies, and it's all of those emotional connectors that we have to our body parts.
And when I first got diagnosed, I was just like, would you just take them already? Why do I have to go through all this? Just take them. Like, I don't even have any hardly, just go ahead and take them. So it was interesting how from the day I was diagnosed until the day I had to have my surgery, how things had changed, but I was bald and then I was getting my breasts taken and I'm like, holy moly, this is not at all. Talk about feeling like a complete stranger in your own body. Like I can remember catching a glimpse at myself in the bathtub, because like my bathtub looks into the shower, so you have a little bit of a glare. And I can remember every now and then catching a glimpse, and it was just like, who is that? Like you're mauled and then you've got, a bald head. It was just, it still is very, I don't enjoy looking at any aspect, it's hard. It is.
I can only imagine. So, I mean, like, so now, I mean, so now you've had the surgery. So now you've got this emotional thing here. Like, so then you're still faced with knowing you're still in the battle. You're still, it's not over.
No, then that's when I started the next chemo. And after every treatment, I got sick. And of course, every time I would get sick, it was fear from everybody, not me, but from especially my husband and my mom and my, everyone. Like, it was just very fearful for them. But I was put on antibiotics after every time. I remember I missed my daughter's 10th birthday. It was a Friday, and she was getting an award at school. And I told my oncologist, I was like, I'm not missing it. So tell me what I need to do, because I'm not missing it. It's on her birthday and she's getting this award, and I'm not missing this. I've missed too much, because I would have to miss, during the fall, because we started in July. So I missed like football games and softball games. And when I was in the hospital, I missed a week. I was like, I'll be damned if I miss it anymore. So I put on a mask. I put on gloves. I had to wait for everybody, because it's at an assembly, at the school assemblies. And so I had to show up late so that everybody would already be in the cafeteria. And then I could only stand outside. So there was like that glass wall looking into the cafeteria. So I stood there to watch. And then I emailed her teacher and I said, I will be there, but I will be in the hall. Will you please send her out to me after she gets her award, just so I can congratulate her? Because also it was a surprise. She didn't know she was going to be getting it. So I got to hug her and, take a picture with her and everything afterwards. But then I had to leave before everyone got dismissed so that I wasn't around everybody.
Yeah.
And then that day was her birthday. And our special thing is every year on her birthday, I check her out from school early, and we go and we get our nails done, and we just spend the afternoon at home playing a game or doing something. And I couldn't do that. And I have a friend, and she messaged me and she said, can I take her to lunch or take her to get her nails done? Like, you have no idea how great that would be. And so she did. And still to this day, my daughter, she's like, oh, can Miss Michelle take me next year? I'm like, what? So, I mean, that shows you with kids. Like, as a mom, but you know what? I was there that day, but I did have to miss so many things. So I got sick after everything. I ended up with sores all over my face. It was awful. So I had 4 of those treatments. So on the day that was done, I wasn't really thinking it was a big deal. It was February 19th, because it was the day after my husband's birthday. And that was my last infusion. But I didn't think it was that big of a deal, because I still had to do radiation. And I also had to take Xeloda, which is a pill form of chemo. And I had to do that every day that I took radiation. So for 6 weeks, I was still going to be on chemo. It just wasn't going to be going through, my port into my vessels. So I didn't think it was a big deal. But being there, I had my 2 best friends were with me, and I didn't even have my mom come, because I was like, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm not ringing the bell today. Like, don't worry about it. Well, I did ring the bell. I broke down crying, and we met for a glass of champagne to toast afterwards with my mom. So it did turn, and I showed up at my house, and there was this huge sign in my yard, like, you did it, last infusion, So it was a way bigger deal than I had put in my head. But
well, and so let's, I want to talk, so in this process, did you, who helped you take care of you? Like, you have your family, you have your husband, you still have all the things that are going on. Who came along beside you? Who took care of you?
I had so much help, like between my mom and my mother-in-law and my husband and my friends. I mean, I had so much help, but, as a mom, we always feel guilty. So I'd be laying in bed, like barely able to lift my head, but I would hear like my kids get home from school, and I'd be like, I can't let someone else, like, I felt lazy. Sounds so ridiculous now, but I felt lazy and like I needed to get up. And so I would get up even if I was just sitting in the living room in the couch and not doing anything, but just there, So I tried to take care of myself the best that I could, but I'm not good at that. I wasn't good at that. Because again, that guilt and that drive and that type A personality, I need to get better and get back on it, not to mention that I had this business, right? So
yeah, let's talk, because now you still have this business, but because, and I remember like watching you start unfolding and start watching you still didn't you have any hair. Your hair hadn't grown back in, and you're literally online doing home workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, she's a beast.
I'm insane. I don't really know what the right verbiage is for that. I don't know.
I mean, like, I'm thinking, how does she have the energy? How did you have the stamina to so you ring the bell, like, take us through this process, because, I think it's just, I don't know. I mean, I just have so much admiration for you.
But see, I think that's my therapy, right? And there were two, teaching my classes and being at the gym and being able to teach classes was therapy for me. It got me, out of my world, and put me out, if that makes any sort of sense whatsoever.
So is that what started this process? Like, like to the business model that you are today, is talk.
Maybe a little bit of that. I think that it was a huge culmination of things to get me to what I do now versus what I was doing prior to diagnosis, right? I think I was already being led down that path. I just didn't know it at the time. But I think that I would film workouts here at the house. I had already launched an online course of my own, aside from my network marketing company. I'd already launched an online course for women that I was so passionate about and loved and got amazing feedback on. So that was constantly in the back of my mind. And I felt like I had built all of this momentum in helping people. And then when I got sick, it's like, how do I keep that? Because I'm going to be on the other side and I'm going to lose everything that I've just worked so hard for. So how do I fill that gap in between, So
just so you know, like I want to catch everybody up to speed, having this online workout program, health and nutrition workout, helping women do exercising from, even if they couldn't come see you physically, you had it a way for them to do and work with you online. I think Fit, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was part of it. And again, I enjoyed it. I loved creating workouts, and I loved, and in a way it's interesting too, because I think that the social media was also almost like a sort of a journaling experience for me.
Yes.
Like it was almost therapeutic for me to be able to do that and to share. And the connections that I made were just incredible, like the messages I would get from women that was like, oh my gosh, I showered with my hand today and felt a lump. I mean, like I got several that, or I shared this message. I shared your video because that video went viral, my first one. And they were like, I shared that, and my friend or my cousin, or, it was crazy. So
I missed that part. So that's how you were in the shower. So I
was in the shower. I had a friend tell me to quit showering with a loofah. She was like, those things are full of germs and they're disgusting. So I washed with my hands, and it was the very first night I'd ever washed with my hand. And I felt it was on the left side, like right under, and it was like about the size of a grape. A large grape is what they called it. So yeah, and I was very flat, so it was like it stuck out there, but I'd never seen it before or anything. It was crazy. Wow. Yeah.
So, and because I can identify with this too, going through the journey process, because watching you, whenever I would see you work out, I'm like, so what's my excuse? Like, I have no excuses, right? So that's how I would say to myself. So you are having impact on women who you don't even know or realize, even though it's therapeutic for you, right? You're living out your journey. You're sharing your life with other people, not realizing the light that you're being for other people, which is what we're called to do ultimately, right? But for me, even, I mean, like whenever you would share stuff, about your devotion and what God had shown you that day in your devotion,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, could I be that strong? Could I be that woman in those shoes? Could I live out my life like that? And, could I have the courage? Could I have the faith? I mean, I'm sorry.
But I think that I don't think we know how. I wasn't trying to be strong. I was just doing what I had to do to survive, literally.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us look at women that are going through something like this and we think, God, they're so strong. I could never be that strong. I couldn't do that. And it's like, you don't know what you're capable of until you're put into that situation. I had no idea. I would never think I was that strong. And I had no idea my faith was as strong as it was. And I had no idea that my mental game was as strong as it was. And that's one of the biggest messages that I share now, is to not wait for tragedy to strike before you start working on yourself physically and mentally. Right? Because if I would not have been prepared, and my road was freaking hard, like I said, it was not the way it was supposed to be. So if I had not been in the condition I was mentally and physically, it would have been that much harder for me to recover. I can't even imagine. I don't want to have to even imagine what it would have been like. So that's one of my biggest messages to women anymore, to people that haven't gone through something like this. Don't wait for it to hit before you're like, crap, I better get my stuff together,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about that, because this has really shaped, who, through this journey, it's really shaped who you want to serve, and who let's talk about your mission now, because all of this has led up to this pinnacle point, from the exercise, the nutrition, the faith, the going through the battle and coming out on the other side. Where are you at now? Like, how has it shaped this whole vision for what you're wanting to do in this platform for women that you have?
It's done so many amazing things. It really has. God sometimes has to shake us to our core to kind of get us where we need to be. And I think so many things have held me back. I'm in the process of writing a book. I just launched a podcast. It actually launches tomorrow. The first episode is up and it's officially launched tomorrow. So things that I've always wanted to do that have not really had the courage to do. It's like, what am I waiting on? What are we waiting on as women, as moms? What kind of example, if we feel that stirring in our heart and in our lives, like, what are we waiting on? Like, I knew that my passion, what really fed me, was speaking. I knew that. I love speaking to other women and just empowering them and making them realize how amazing and their capabilities that they have. But I wasn't focusing on that. I was doing other things. And so now it's like, well, that's who I am. My mission now is that. My mission is twofold. It's number one, like I said, to make sure that women don't wait for tragedy to strike before they start working on themselves. And then number two, helping survivors realize and come to appreciate and figure out what to do with this new normal, and helping them find that perfectly imperfect strength in this perfectly imperfect body that they now have. What does that look like? And helping coach them through that during and after their journey.
This is that's such a strong, powerful message. Just the first part of it. Both are powerful, but the first part for sure is that a lot of times people wait until they have to do something instead of prepping in advance. I always, because I've, in health and being and network marketing and my background with the health and nutrition as well, I always, people would say, well, we were talking about nutrition supplements, and and I'm talking to somebody who's taking pills, and I'm like, you're taking these pills because you didn't take care of what you had to begin with. Mm-hmm. So, basically taking pills, it's inevitable. Something's going to go awry, but you might as let's do everything that we can to prolong what's down the road, through the choices that we make every single day.
Yes.
And such a powerful message. And whether that's in our faith, and girding yourself up with your faith, and with the way you exercise, and did you move your body today? Did you drink your water? Did you take your supplements? Did you make right choices? And then, because your journey probably would have looked completely different if you wouldn't have been girded for this battle.
Sure. Oh, I have no doubt. Yeah.
So the takeaways for today, like, what would you say for, the ladies listening here? Like, tell me, um, tell me.
I think there's finding strengths in our struggles, finding different things in our journey, and kind of just letting go of the expectation of what you think life is supposed to look like, and embrace what it is. Embrace the journey that you're on. Embrace where you are. That's actually my word of the year, is embrace. I felt all of this pressure at the beginning of the year, like all these goals and everything, because that's what I always did, right? What do we do in network marketing? You set these huge goals and you just bust tail until you reach them. And that wasn't what I was going after this year. And so it was a lot of pressure. And so I was like, I just need a word. And so it took me time, but I embrace. So for me, I'm embracing the journey. I'm embracing who I was, embracing what I lost, embracing the pain, embracing the emotional, the physical, because I still have lots of physical ailments and things like that. So I'm having to learn to embrace that and embrace who I am now. Just so much around that. So I think for any woman out there, let go of the expectations, because that's going to hold you back. Embrace where you are and keep pushing to where you want to be, but kind of letting go of those expectations, because it'll just hold you back. And, like I said, just finding strength in every single struggle. It's not a failure. It's never, failure is just an opportunity for us to thrive. So you've got to figure out what that looks like for you. I don't think that's ever, the only time you can ever fail is if you quit.
Yes. Good. That's really good.
That's where failure is.
So, like, what do you do? Like, how did, like, going through this process, I mean, what are the things, share with the ladies, like, what are your go-tos? Like some things, like maybe a scripture or a quote, or, something that you gravitated to that you like was your handle, give us some handles that you used to get through these processes on the dark days.
Well, my life verse has always been Jeremiah 29:11. Like, it's just always been my favorite verse, for I know the plans I have for you. In fact, I'm staring at it. I have I have behind my computer all different sayings, and that's one of them, is Jeremiah 29:11. But throughout that process, Esther 4:14 really, and I guess it was not, it was after the process. It was more on this side of it, and the survivorship, which is way harder than I ever thought it would be. Survivorship is a whole nother animal. But perhaps this is the moment for which you were created. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. No matter, for me, obviously, it's a completely different dynamic. But for any woman, like this, where you are right now, this is the moment for which you were created. Whatever it is right now, where you are, we are doing the best at any moment. Think about the times that we're in right now, today in this world. Like, we're all doing the very best with whatever we've been given. But this is the moment we were created for. So that really, I started to cling to. But I did you talked about I would share my devotion during my journey, and I still share it almost every day. But Jesus Calling. I've read it. I've done it for, I don't know, this is probably like my 4th or 5th year, but I swear to you, it hits every morning. It's like, that was totally meant for what is going on in my life right now today. So it's interesting how year after year, wherever I am, it's speaking to me, So Jesus Calling is,
I love that, because I always say, like, it meets us where you are. I mean, it always meets you where you are, how, God just has a way of meeting you exactly where you are. If you knock, if you seek, you will find. So one of the ladies, I'm going to derail for just a minute. They're asking about the award that you have behind you.
Oh, yes. That, I have a couple of them. So that was for when I hit elite in my company. So it was like it wasn't top 10, but it was in the top, it's like the top rank you could have gotten within the company. And my team and I, we hit it 2 years in a row. And so that was that was the first year that I hit it, was that. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I know there were 450,000 in the company at the time. And I remember being in the top 100, and it was just, pretty amazing. We were like number 73, I think. It was pretty cool.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I know that a lot of women would be definitely loving to be the top 100 of their company without question.
Yeah, it's doable. It takes sacrifice, but it's doable. It is. It is.
So let's talk about a book. I mean, as we finish up here, let's talk about a book. Are you reading something now? Is there a book that you go to?
One book that was a game changer for me that I read a while back, but it's still it's what I kind of model things after, was Miracle Morning. Have you ever read that?
Yes.
By Hal. That was a game changer for me. I read it several years ago, but it was a game changer. So if you haven't read that, start there. But then a couple of others that are kind of my go-to is The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. And then one during this past journey was It's Not Supposed to Be This Way by Lisa Tierkhurst. Those were two that were kind of my go-to here of late. I'm rereading a book right now.
Wait. Okay, so Gabby, I can't write that fast.
Gabby Bernstein. She wrote, she's written The Universe Has Your Back, Spirit Junkie. What is it? May Cause Miracles, I think was her other one. But Spirit Junkie was her first one, but The Universe Has Your Back, that's the one, I've read it 2 or 3 times. And that's all highlighted and all kinds of things. It's a good one.
I love that. And then you said another one in between there.
Yeah. It's Not Supposed to Be This Way by Lisa Tierkhurst. I think anybody that's going through struggle, that's a really great book to read. Because again, letting go of that expectation that we have. It's wait, this is not how I envisioned my life to be. So that was a really great book that someone gave me.
That's a great book. That's good. So Natalie, tell the ladies, what are you going to share? What would you what do you believe that you want to gift? Because they're also asking how they can connect with you. So
you can connect. You can just go to my website. It's mythinkfit.com. I'm MyThinkFit across all social media platforms. So Instagram, Facebook, wherever, Pinterest, but it's MyThinkFit. I've also, like I said, just launched a podcast. It's called Life Work, the podcast. I launched it with one of my very good friends. And it's going to be really cool. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, I'm in the process of writing a book called Girlfriend's Guide to Fighting. And I have a Facebook group for that as well. So if you do know anyone that's going through the journey, that's kind of how I can connect with other women, is through that. But I also, whether it's, crushing goals in the face of adversity, I want to make sure that I help your women, your group here, to understand that they can still accomplish their goals and accomplish great things, even when life throws them these curveballs that we don't anticipate, So yeah. I have a talk that I've given on that. And so I'd love to give your group that. I also have a 40-day journal. It's a 40-day gratitude journal, to finding that I'm really big on a perfectly imperfect balance. And so I have a 40-day gratitude journal that I created with my co-host of the podcast. And so I want to make sure to gift them that as well. So.
Okay, cool. This is awesome. I love that. And but whenever we get done, I want to make sure that we get all of your stuff in the body here. So I want you to share that. The final question is that Danielle is asking, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today?
Today is a good day.
Not necessarily today, but I mean life today.
Today is good. And on my good days, I take as much advantage as I can. Probably too much advantage. I get in trouble from my husband and my family a little bit. Because the fatigue and the pain and the sickness hasn't gone away. My immune system just has not recovered, unfortunately. I usually have about one good week, and then I'm usually down for a few weeks, either just fatigue-wise or I keep getting these sinus infections. But I've been good for several weeks in a row now. So we are just knocking on wood and praying that it stays that way for the long haul. I do have to have a sinus surgery because I just can't get well. So, but today, right now, today is a good day. So
Yes.
On the good days, I try to take advantage, but I've also learned, still learning, it's a very hard lesson I'm trying to learn, is to listen to my body.
Yeah.
Because I like to work out, I like to go hard, and I'm learning that, I don't need to do that all the time, which is really hard for me. So,
well, I think we could probably all have a balance of that, but that's always the lesson in finding the balance in everything. But I really appreciate you taking out time to be here and share your journey. I can't wait. Will you please promise to come on whenever you launch your book?
yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
I would love to share that with the ladies. And then also, share your group, because there may be support, and to, help them through. I would love to be able to do that.
Sure.
So important. So important.
Yeah.
So, and thank your kids. I can Venmo you $5. He's definitely like, that's
like, do you hear that? I haven't had one bust in. I haven't heard one scream yet. I think I did hear Frozen 2 playing, so that might be the trick.
Well, you've been amazing, and just I'm so thankful to the Lord and what he's done and what he's doing and continues to do, and so glad that we connected and we became friends.
So much. And thank you, as a friend to a friend, thank you for the prayers and the support through it all. Seriously, like, thank you. That's the only way we got through it all, for sure. So
it's true. Anything that you would, you would want somebody to do for you, right? It's that way. It's that way.
Yeah.
So, well, awesome. Okay. So, and if you're going to go in and help me with the stuff that we've got here. So ladies, we thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Share this out and tag some ladies that that could benefit from this interview. And we appreciate all your time today. And that's it for us. This is Taylor Thompson and Natalie Tuman from the She Network. Bye, ladies.